sometimes, as we talk about on the show, we're not saying with our words, so I guess we need a billboard, but we want you to grow past those fears and get to a place where you express yourself. And that leads us into a little bit of our topic for the day is how we express ourselves. Because if you do not express yourself, then you might be on an express train headed somewhere that you don't want to go because you weren't visible. And we need to be visible. People need to see our treasures, is what I like to call them. You know, if you think about a boundary is a property line, okay? In any property, you have a property line, and that's what you own, and no one else can come in and take away from you or control or change or manipulate without your permission. Okay, that's your property. It's your personhood. Now, in the real world, what the heck is that? In the physical world, you know, property lines are pretty easy to see, right? You see a fence around your property, or you see a wall around your house or your apartment. And we know outside of that wall is not yours, but inside is, or outside that fence is not yours, but inside is. Well, that's the physical world. But what about the real world, the one that counts, which is the non physical world, which is a whole nother topic, by the way. But the non physical world, who you are as a person, your heart, mind, soul, and strength, as Jesus referred to it. And what does that consist of? Well, I think it consists of a lot of treasures. Treasures. And the treasures are this list of things that, like when Jesus said, don't cast your pearls before swine, don't give what is holy to dogs, they'll trample you. These are your treasures that exist in your soul. Let me give you a quick list. Your feelings, your attitudes, your behaviors, your choices, your limits, your loves, your thoughts, your desires, okay? Your values. That's the real you. So back to what I was saying earlier. Those can't be seen like, you know, the physical things can be seen, right? If you break in somebody's house, I mean, you can see where that boundary is and the alarm goes off, or, you know, something's supposed to stop them. But in the immaterial, the invisible world of your relationships, sometimes people don't know that they're stepping into your property, okay? Or they might know it, not care. They control your feelings, negate your feelings, ignore your feelings, or maybe don't even know what they are. And that's why I started with we have to live lives of expressing your treasures to make them visible. So in a good relationship, what happens? We're neighbors, right? Our property lines are next to each other. And if somebody's safe, what do? You open up the fence and say, come on over. They go, come look at my treasures. Let me tell you what they are. And you go in, you pull out, this is an heirloom. See, my grandmother gave me this. You go in the drawer and you pull out this earring, right? Well, what about the invisible treasures? You invite safe people into your house, your soul, and you say, here's my treasures, here's my feelings, here's my attitude about this, here's what I did yesterday, here's the choices I'm making, here's my dreams, my wishes, my desires, my talents. Then we get to know each other, and then we start to shape those with permission. Somebody can say to me, you know, that ring's a little dusty, you need to polish it up, meaning, you know what, I think you're a little amped up over there. Maybe you toned that anger down a little bit. Oh, thank you. Now my ring looks better because I've invited a safe person onto my property to help me polish up. It's called feedback. It's called love. It's called correction, and a wise person receives it. Okay, but remember, I'm talking about the kind of people you let into your yard here. So, what I said earlier was it's how we express it. How we express it. And I want you to think about one little um, let's call it, what can we call this? One little, nah, I don't know what I'm looking for. One little item about how you express it. Okay, when someone steps over the fence into your property or wounds you, or hurts that or whatever, then ask yourself, is the way I'm expressing it going to have the greatest chance to lead to something helpful, or is it going to take it in the other direction? Okay. We all have to express ourselves about our treasures. But if we're expressing them like our desires in a controlling and demanding and entitled way, not going to lead to anything good. You may get what you want, but you're not going to engender a lot of affection. Okay. Or when we're violated in some way, if we're expressing that violation in, really destructive anger and judgmentalism and contempt, what Gottman called the four horsemen of the apocalypse, the things that ruin a relationship. When you're judgmental and have contempt and rage and looking down on the person, as opposed to in love saying, you know what, I need to talk to you about something because that didn't feel good. That didn't help. See, that could lead to something. Rarely does anger and judgmentalism and contempt lead to any resolution of any problem. It just causes a different problem. So think about this as a definition of dysfunction. Dysfunction does not mean that we have problems. Everybody has problems. Everybody. We all have imperfections. We all make mistakes. To me, dysfunction, that's just imperfection. That's just being human. Dysfunction to me is this. It's when we apply actual effort to address the problem and we make the problem worse. That's dysfunction. It's like when a couple has a disagreement and they start to talk about it, and the way they're talking about it creates way more of a rift and injury than the original problem. That's dysfunction. When a kid's got a problem, a parent goes in to correct it, but the way they tried to correct it created much bigger drama, broken relationship, and disheartedness. And is that a word? They're disheartened by it. Than the original problem. That's dysfunction. So think about when we are expressing ourselves, how we might express ourselves in ways that can be heard or most likely to be heard, or even if they're not heard, would still be considered taking the higher road rather than destructive expressions. It doesn't help. Okay. One of my favorite verses, the wrath of mankind, the wrath of people, the wrath of humans, the anger of humans, the Bible says, does not accomplish the righteousness of God. If you're trying to make something right, screaming at it ain't gonna make it better, is basically the paraphrasing. So think about your expressions. In the tongue lies the power of life and death, blessing and curse, right and wrong, light and darkness. Watch how you say things. Doesn't mean you don't address problems. We're all for that. It's just how we do it. How we do it is a big deal.